Hello world, this is my comparative analysis of Oregon Trail versus myON for the MITx course Design and Development of Educational Technology. In this video I'll be discussing two different implementations of technology in teaching elementary students about the Westward Expansion period of U.S. history. Oregon Trail is a game for the Apple IIe from 1985 developed by the Minnesota Educational Computing Corporation, and myON is a current digital literacy platform developed by Capstone Digital. Full disclosure, I am an employee of Capstone, although I work in fulfillment, not in product development or marketing. So let's begin with Oregon Trail. We see here from the main menu that we have a few choices, so let's go ahead and learn about the trail. So the goal of this game is to take your covered wagon from Independence, Missouri over to Oregon country in 1848. So the user has a few choices about how they're going to get across. Many things to consider, like your supplies, how you're going to cross the rivers, various hazards along the trail along the way, disease, etc. So another goal that the student may have here is to get a high score. So we can see that by looking at the top 10. So the high score here is 7,650 points. So let's look at how points are earned. In this game you get points for having as many members of your party alive at the end of the journey, and the health of your party is also going to influence the number of points you get, as well as the resources that you have at the end of your journey. And so the occupation you choose is going to influence the number of points you get too. Bankers get more money to start with, but carpenters get less and farmers get even less. So if you start as a farmer, you get triple the points at the end because it's more difficult. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to select a banker because you just get more money to start with that way. Put in my name. Here we see a little graphic. Alright, so here's an opportunity for learning here. How are we going to choose which month to leave? Let's ask for advice. So if you leave too early, there won't be any grass. If you leave too late, you may not get to Oregon. So something to think about. I'm going to select April. It seems like not too early or too late. So now the student is tasked with buying some supplies for the journey. Going to need oxen, clothing, food, ammunition, and spare parts. So let's go ahead and get some oxen. I'll take the recommended for each of these. 1,000 pounds of food. 2 sets of clothing per person. A box of ammunition, and 3 of each of the spare parts for the journey. So let's go ahead and cash out and start the journey. Lovely old sound from 1985. All right, so here we are at the beginning in Independence, Missouri. There are a few options here on this menu. Let's go ahead and look at the map. You can see that star over on the right side of the screen is start. That's where we are right now, and then finish over in Oregon country on the left. So let's go ahead and talk to people and see what we can learn. So this person is recommending that we carry some extra spare parts, illustrating some of the hazards along the Oregon Trail. Don't want your wagon to break down. What are some other people saying? This person's recommending that you carry a lot of oxen because you don't want your oxen to die. And another person is saying bring extra sets of clothing. There may be opportunities to trade with Indians along the way. All right, let's go ahead and continue on the trail. Thank you. So as you're traveling along, you can press return and stop along the way, and I'm going to take this opportunity to hunt for some food. You can see this is another game aspect of this game. Now my hunter here can walk around and see if there's any game along the way. Oh, I missed. Let's see what else. Gather some food for the journey. Oh, all right, got a deer. That should be a few 100 pounds. 71. Good. So you can see that that's added to the total as we continue along the trail. I remember playing this game when I was in 4th grade many years ago, largely because this was one of the only pieces of software available on the computer at school. So now we've reached a river crossing. Let's go ahead and look around. All right, let's see what people are saying here. So this ferry operator is saying, don't ford anything that's deeper than 2.5 feet. What are other people saying? This person's saying, if you wait for the ferry, you're hoping to have enough graze for your animals. And then another person is going to say, you can't afford to take a ferry. Maybe you want to caulk your wagon and float across. So let's go ahead and continue here. All right, 4.2 feet deep, 624 feet across. So let's get some more information. Let's see what else we can learn about this. Okay, so we get some definitions of fording a river and caulking the wagon and using the ferry. So a few different options here, which were available to the pioneers back in 1848. So let's say that we decide not to heed the advice of the fellow travelers and try and ford the river. Let's see what happens. See a little animation here of the oxen going across. And then they're sinking. And oh, we've lost clothing, bullets, and ox, and Steph. So there's some points that are going to be lost should we reach Oregon. So the idea of this is hopefully that if a student encounters this, maybe they'll make a different choice next time and be able to earn some more points. So that's kind of a brief overview of the Oregon Trail. Let's go ahead and check out myON. So myON is, as I said before, a digital literacy platform. It has about 7,000 titles in its library from Capstone as well as publisher partners. And so I selected this book, Your Life as a Pioneer on the Oregon Trail, to compare what we can learn from this digital book as compared to the game from 1985. And one of the features of the myON platform is that it will actually read out loud to the student, and that's optional. Of course, you can disable that feature, and it will also highlight the word and the sentence so that the student can follow along as the audio is being spoken. So let's see what this looks like.
Your Life as a Pioneer on the Oregon Trail by Jessica Gunderson.
You even get some music to go along, so that's another way to engage the student.
Your role. Congratulations! You'll be playing the role of Abigail Cross in our play, Life on the Oregon Trail. The year is 1847. You, your husband, and your 3 children are heading west across North America to start a new life. And you're not alone. Hundreds of other families are traveling with you.
All right, so I think you get the idea of how the spoken audio and the highlighting works on this platform, so I'm going to go ahead and disable that for the remainder of this presentation. And we'll just kind of go through the book here. So an advantage of this myON platform, since I'm using a touch device, I can zoom in. And I should mention that myON is available in a web browser as well as apps for iOS, Android, and Chrome. And it's helpful to have an internet connection, but there is also offline reading enabled as well. If you have one of the apps, you can download up to 20 books. And it does require a subscription. So we can see in this page, there's a map of Oregon country, and some various information. We have these nice little text boxes down here that most of the pioneers are walking for most of it. We'll go ahead and move through this book here. So you can see here that there are some hardships along the trail, and the content is a little denser here than it was in the game. The thing about going through a book is that it's a very linear path, and the information is delivered the same way every time. So the author is able to communicate to the student, a more dense kind of information. So we can see here that 200 pounds of food per person, that's consistent with what we saw in the game. You can see some hazards at night. These illustrations are slightly better than what we saw in the game too, but it is about 29 years later. So here we're learning about buffalo chips, which were a way of burning fuel out on the trail. So I'll highlight another feature of myON here. There's actually a dictionary embedded in the program. So if the student were wondering, well, I want a definition of buffalo. So I'm going to click on this AZ icon down here and just type in buffalo. And there we go, we get a definition right there. And we can even get a pronunciation if I click on that.
Buffalo.
There you go. So that's a nice little feature. Here we can see about some entertainment along the trail. Again, we see these text boxes in the corners here. We can see some trading with Indians, which was also highlighted in the game. You can learn ways to drive oxen. This person's shouting left, left, but let me give you some advice. To make them turn left, yell haw. To make them turn right, yell gee. Or to stop, yell whoa. That's kind of a fun, engaging way to draw the student in. So here we can see, that it was pretty dangerous to travel on the Oregon Trail because the travelers were vulnerable to sickness. And that's, one of the goals of the game is to get your party all the way to Oregon intact. So we can see here in both of these examples that that was definitely a hazard of traveling across the country at that time. And here we are with a river crossing, as we saw in the game as well. Floating your wagon across the river could lead to losing some supplies or even people. Here's another way to communicate that. Again, we see some mountains and settlers got there. So that's the end of the book. And I like this text box at the end. In 1869, the Transcontinental Railroad was completed, and so that eliminated the need for covered wagon travel for people who could afford trains, of course. All right, so I'm going to end this book And so we see that now we have the opportunity to rate it. I'm going to go ahead and give it 5 stars. And then here's another component of myON. This is a test of comprehension. So the student will take the short little quiz, and then the teacher will be able to measure how well they understood the content of the book. So I'm going to go ahead and answer these. You get that little reward right. Question 4. There we go. You got 5 correct. All right. So now we're back to the main menu of myON. If I go into Account here, we can see a number of statistics here. The Lexile measure based on the books that Lillian has read, the amount of time read. You can see I've read Oregon Trail a few times. So it's kind of nice to be able to collect that data. Can look at the reading growth chart here for the month of October and see that reading ability is projected to expand based on what Lillian has read. So it's kind of neat to be able to collect that data, and teachers are able to measure how well the students are comprehending the books by analyzing those quiz scores. Well, that concludes my analysis of the former technology and the current technology. Thanks for watching.